Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
National interest this week focuses on national security, particularly the internal security aspect. And I begin this week's argument with 3 points. Number one, what if I said that to understand the political impact of what's happened in Lakhimpur Khedi or the crisis that the Yogi government has conjured up there, look away from Uttar Pradesh. Don't look at Uttar Pradesh, look at Punjab instead. Second, if I say that to understand the impact of the fallout or the importance of the fallout in Punjab, watch the targeted killings of minorities in Kashmir. You will already say, why are you mixing one and the other? And at this point, if I also tell you that to understand what I am saying or to join these dots, take your mind back 3 decades to 1991 in terms of how India's situation looked then. Now, before you call me nuts and you say that Shekhar Gupta, this is a Friday evening, this has been a very newsy week, stuff's been happening all around you, you've got tired and you are just talking in riddles. I'm not talking in riddles, and that's why I'm trying to join these dots for you. Think about the state of our national security in 1991, as I told you. So 1991, what was going on? Kashmir was on the boil after Rubaiyat Saeed kidnapping. Kashmir terrorism had reached its peak. That was the beginning of what I describe as the Haider phase in Kashmir troubles, 1990, 91, 92. It calmed around 1993 a little bit and then calmed a bit more and then came back. Anyway, 1990, 91 was the worst period when Indian state or Indian state power did not seem to be in control in Kashmir. That is also the period when Punjab was going through its third phase of terrorism. And the third phase of terrorism was the most vicious of all in terms of the lives taken and also targeted killings of minorities. Buses were stopped, buses were hijacked, all the Hindus in the buses were killed. There was indiscriminate firing inside barber shops on the presumption that only Hindus will be killed. There were large-scale massacres that were targeted towards minorities. And there was big panic in Punjab. It was as if the writ of Government of India did not run in Punjab. This was also the period when India had a lot of political instability, because remember, we had 2 governments on daily wages, that is VP Singh's and Chandrasekhar's. Also, Chandrasekhar's was not quite as namby-pamby or national security as VP Singh's, but there were 2 governments on daily wages, and they were followed by Rajiv Gandhi's assassination and the resulting minority government under P.V. Narasimha Rao. Now, of course, we know that by 1993, he had gotten the situation under control, both in Punjab and Kashmir. But when it started in 1991, things were quite bad in India, and it looked like India was really going down the tube at that point. Now, we are not at that point yet. So, don't think that I will sensationalize and say, ab to hum wahi pahunch gaye. We've gone back 30 years. We haven't gone back 30 years because there are many differences right now. The biggest difference is that right now we have a stable majority government at the center. That's very important. Number 2, that Kashmir by and large has been quiet for some time. There are terrorist incidents and there are killings, but there has not been any large scale, mass scale trouble now for some time. Third, Pakistan is a pale shadow of itself than it used to be. Remember, the similarity between this situation and the 1990-91 situation for Pakistan is that just as they had a heady feeling at that point, particularly the Pakistani army and ISI, that their boys, the Mujahideen, had defeated the Soviets, now they have the same heady feeling that their boys, the Taliban, have defeated the Americans. But at the same time, Pakistan's own strength is much weaker than it was relative to India in 1989, 1990, 1991. Also, Pakistan's international leverage right now is not even a fraction of what it was, say, in the 1988 to 1993 period. That's when the Soviets were withdrawing and the new arrangements were coming into place in Afghanistan. So, having said that we are not close to that, Should we still worry? So, no nation that takes its internal security seriously, and no nation of our size, which has experienced heavy internal security problems, starts to worry about these issues when water comes up to the chin. By that time, it's too late. Country like us, smart, which has learned from experience, if it learns from experience, has to figuring out the little breaches and leaks and the warnings early enough, so the water doesn't start rising, so it does not become a crisis. Now, if you look around, there are many warnings right now. I am listing some of these for you. Number one, the tragedy in Lakhimpur Khedi will not affect Yogi Adityanath too much in terms of the coming UP elections, simply because there are too few Sikhs in Uttar Pradesh. Also, this has been seen, or this has been painted successfully more as a Sikh versus the rest trouble. So that's why he thinks he can brazen it out. But in Punjab, that's my second point. In Punjab, this has an impact. Watch the impact in Punjab. That's the reason I said that to understand the implications of what's happened in Lakhimpur Khedi, look at Punjab. Because Punjab is pole bound, so these incidents have lit up Punjab's politics and generally Punjab's mood. You can imagine why it has such an impact. Because it was more than 60 years ago that the first generation of Sikhs, very hardy Sikhs, came in from Punjab, and in fact many of them came from Western Punjab, from Pakistan, and they were settled in Tarai. They were given lands, and one reason they were given lands in Tarai and were made to settle down was because they were seen to be one, colonizing these very hostile lands which had the most hostile animal species available, from the big cats to snakes to malarial swarms. Second, because these were very fertile lands. So the idea was that these are hardy people, they will be able to colonize these lands and develop them. And third, also, it was a border area and very loosely guarded. So Punjabis here, particularly Sikhs here, were seen to be as a kind of vanguard of Indian defense and Indian security in this area. They've been there since then, but they have relationships of kinship, friendships, families back in Punjab. It's the same families. That's why what happens in the Tarai to Sikhs has a very strong echo in Punjab. That's the reason you see all parties in Punjab that have a stake in next year's election. That is the Congress Party, Shiromani Akali Dal, Aam Aadmi Party. They have all stormed into Lakhimpur Khedi. And they are all. Now you might say they are politicking, but what else will they do? They are in politics. It's a profession. The only party that's not bothered does not have any electoral stakes in Punjab, and that is the BJP. What this is doing to people in Punjab, particularly the Sikhs, is to give them the impression that because they have too few votes and they don't vote for the BJP, they don't count anymore. If anything, this might in fact benefit the BJP in Uttar Pradesh. That gets the Punjabis even angrier. And that is not something that India wants at this point. This comes at a time that when for the first time in 30 years, in 3 decades, Punjab's politics, Punjab's regular electoral politics, conventional politics has no center of gravity. Punjab's politics, barring those years of terrorism and president's rule, successive spells of president's rule and unstable governments, Punjab's politics has always had a strong center of gravity. One party, whether Akalis in their partnership with the BJP or the Congress Party, has been in power and the other has constituted the other pole. In the last election, Punjab had become a tripolar state because Aam Aadmi Party had got many seats in the state. So third party had come up. Today you have a situation where the Congress has set its own house on fire. Congress Party itself looks weak, demoralized, bedraggled, and it does not inspire any confidence or enthusiasm in the people of Punjab. Now, many of them will vote for it because they will see it as being less worse in their view than the Akali Dal or the Aam Aadmi Party. But this is not a party right now that's firing the imagination of the Punjabis. Also, Punjab is that rare state in India which really has no culture of coalition rule. I mean, you don't call the Shiromani Akali Dal BJP governments or now the Shiromani Akali Dal BSP alliance like coalition governments. Punjab really has no coalition culture. One party sits in the center, the other party is on the other side. That may not happen this time because if you were to hold elections now, we don't know what will happen next year, But if you were to hold elections right now, or if you were to foresee the outcome, you are looking at an uncertain election result, probably a broken assembly, and probably political instability. That is what takes you back to the 1990-91 situation when Punjab had political instability at the same time that Kashmir had trouble. Now, what the terrorists are doing in Kashmir is very clear. They are once again targeting the minorities, Hindus and Sikhs, hoping to set off one more exodus as in 1990. Exactly the same playbook. Because they think that if they can start it, it has many impacts. One, it damages the Indian government's authority and credibility in the valley. That look, 2 years after abolishing Article 370, you still don't control the situation in the valley. We can come and kill who we want, right? So that affects their credibility. It improves the morale of the terror groups within India or in Pakistan. But more importantly, it causes religious polarization elsewhere in the country, which might be politically useful for one party today, but can be quite detrimental to India's national interest. For terrorists and their handlers in the ISI, particularly for the new ISI chief who takes over now, this is a perfect strategy. This is low risk, high return, low cost strategy, because kill 2 people today, 2 people tomorrow, 2 day after tomorrow, and the Hindus and Sikhs start fleeing, their job is done, because that's what they wanted in 1990. They mostly succeeded. Some people did not go then, like Mr. Makhanlal Bindru, who's now been assassinated, and some came back. Now they want to drive them out also. The purpose, more than to drive out the minorities or to kill them or to terrorize them, is to undermine the authority of the Indian state in Kashmir. Now, if we are not careful, we might have a situation when Kashmir Valley is on the boil, Punjab has political instability, and Kashmir particularly might look like a patient which a surgeon has cut open but has forgotten to stitch back on. Because after all, there has to be a next stage in the game in Kashmir, because if Kashmir continues to be out of control like this, and how do you hold elections there? How do you carry out a delimitation? And if at all, how do you move towards the restoration of full statehood, which is a commitment that the Prime Minister has made? It cannot carry on forever under President's rule, because if that happens, then you are going back in time. That's the reason I said, think about 1990-91. Now, next point. Former Punjab Chief Minister Amrinder Singh has been warning us, but generally he's been ignored, partly because people think, he's exaggerating because he's like a wounded lion right now. And also because people think, oh, maybe this is part of his love talk with the BJP because he's a jilted lover from the Congress. So he's trying to make up to the BJP by doing this talk. But he's been warning us about something that is well known. And that is that while Kashmir Valley is awash with automatic weapons, in Punjab itself, loads of automatic weapons have been dropped over the past year by drones coming in from across the border. That's been done with a purpose. These are not birthday gifts. These are not Lodi gifts or Diwali gifts or Gurpurab gifts. These have been sent with a purpose. Now, the only thing that's lacking for those plans to work is the availability of a few Sikhs angry enough, or a few young Sikhs angry enough to pick up those weapons again. Remember, the only reason India was able to defeat the insurgency in Punjab in early 1990s, of course, we say KPSK, the police, the armed forces, intelligence, everybody did their job. But it was the people of Punjab. It was the people of Punjab who said, look, there is no gain in us in all this. We will fight them. And they fought it back. Now, again, if they get angry and they see the reason to pick up these arms, we'll be in double trouble. So, as I said, what's missing right now in this deadly mix is some young Sikhs angry enough to pick up these weapons. And even if a handful of them did so in revenge, you know what the consequences will be. Pilibhit, Lakhimpur Khedi, Udham Singh Nagar, which is now in bordering Uttarakhand. These are regions with sizable and prosperous Sikh populations. In fact, politically, just as an aside, this may affect the BJP adversely in Uttarakhand, in Udham Singh Nagar, because there the Sikh population in percentage terms is higher. In Lakhimpur Khedi, it's just about little less than 3%, right? And that is the highest Sikh population for any district in Uttar Pradesh. But in Udham Singh Nagar, it's about 15 to 17%. So they make a difference in about 7 to 9 constituencies, assembly constituencies. But the big prize is Uttar Pradesh. So let's come back to the point. So districts like Pilibhit, Lakhimpur Khedi, Udham Singh Nagar, they have large, sizable and prosperous and influential Sikh populations. As I mentioned earlier, when their first generations came here, they had a very hard life. And because they had to deal with all the hardships, they are used to living a rough life, and they are also used to firearms. There was a strong knock-on effect of Punjab terrorism among the Sikhs in the Tarai region. In fact, there were many encounters with security forces, some genuine, some fake. And in fact, it's as recently as in 2016 that 47 UP policemen were given life sentences for killing 10 Sikh pilgrims returning from Punjab in cold blood and then tossing their bodies off as terrorists. But the law caught up with them. So those wounds haven't yet healed. Those wounds are still quite raw. You don't want to be opening them again. Now, as we said earlier, the Sikhs in Punjab are angry and frustrated. There is some truth to the argument that the Sikhs are the most powerful engine driving the farmers' protests. So definitely these are not farmers' protests which are nationwide. These are mostly in the states adjoining Delhi. There also Haryana, it's much stronger in Haryana than before now, Western UP and in Punjab. But still, most of the strength in this movement or in this protest is coming from the Sikhs of Punjab. So there is some truth to that. But just because you think the Sikh votes don't count, so let them protest, let them sit for one more year. They've sat for 1 year, they can sit for one more year. You can afford to ignore them. But can you afford to do that? Can you afford to do that and let that anger fester and then have your own chief ministers responding in as cavalier fashion as, say, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh in Lakhimpur Khedi? Or keep pointing the Sikhs, protesting Sikhs as Khalistanis. This has been done with the farmers' protests. This is also being done now with Lakhimpur Khedi. No healing touch, no kind word, no filial or fraternal hand on the shoulder ke bhai, I understand your pain, give me some time or we'll do something about it. We have seen none of that happen, and that is very worrying. Now, I will also tell you what set into motion or what sparked this chain of thought in my mind. This afternoon, for one of our off-the-cuff OTC shows, I was at an interview with the cast of a new film, Shaheed Udham, which is now coming out, and that film has been directed by Shoojit Sarkar, who's one of my favorite directors. I've adored him since I saw Madras Cafe. Produced by Ronnie Lahiri, and also the lead is played by Vicky Kaushal, who again I admire very much. And as I thought about Udham Singh there, Shaheed Udham Singh, I remembered a bunch of things. One, I remembered that one of the districts adjoining Lakhimpur Khedi has been named after Udham Singh. It's called Shaheed Udham Singh Nagar. The reason it's been named like that, one is to honor Shaheed Udham Singh or Shaheed-e-Azam Udham Singh, but also it is to honor the Sikh migrants who've come and settled there and who've made these some of the most productive agricultural lands in the country. You have to go there, look at those farms to see what miracle they have worked there. Now, at the same time, it has also reminded me that Udham Singh is treated as such a hero in all of the country because he is seen to have avenged Jallianwala Bagh massacre by assassinating Michael O'Dwyer, who was the governor of Punjab, under whose reign that massacre was carried out. Remember also that this assassination was carried out in 1940, that is 21 years after Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So he had not forgiven or forgotten that far. Now, I will not say more because you know why? Because Aqalmand ko ishara kafi hai. Because smart people figure out the message, right? I don't have to repeat it or idiot proof it. Second, as I have said often enough, at least twice in the context of Punjab, you don't want to invite the devil back home because you've seen it there once and you've seen what it can do, what havoc it can play. You don't want any of that. All I would say is, in conclusion, that smart generations don't repeat the mistakes that they might have seen being made earlier on in their own lives. They've all seen these mistakes lighting the fires that burnt India in 1991 to 93, or I would say 1989 to 93, and these were also put out in our own lifetime. So these are lessons that we have learned in our lifetimes. Mistakes we made in our lifetimes, mistakes we corrected in our lifetimes. The key to handling the chronic troubles in Kashmir, we also know, is to have a peaceful and stable Punjab. And now when you talk of Kashmir, also think of Ladakh and also think of China. The key to holding it all together is a peaceful Punjab. So you need, first of all, conflict resolution in Punjab. 30 years back, similar familiar forces were given the opportunity to light fires in both these states at the same time. India can't let this happen again. So that was my humble little effort to connect the dots that I scattered to begin with in this week's column.